Hello everybody, my name is Loyal Wooldridge. I'm the BC NDP candidate for Kelowna-Centre, and this is Loyal's Community Quickcast, where 15 minutes or less, we bring you some of the top priorities for Kelowna and the challenges we face, but also the solutions to overcome them, which is the most important part when we're battling some of the issues we face here in Kelowna and British Columbia. Today we are talking all about childcare and that it is an economic engine to help businesses thrive as well as families. And today we're joined with Danielle Miranda from the YMCA Southern Interior of BC. She is the Vice President of Childcare. Did I get all of that correct?
You did. It's a mouthful. Thank you so much, Loyal. Yeah, no, it's been a wonderful time working here in the community, helping to build the childcare sector.
Awesome. Well, I've been a big supporter of the Y for a long time. And since I joined council, I've really understood the importance of childcare and the impact that it has, not only on families, but the community as a whole. So why don't you jump in a little bit about the YMCA here locally and what your role is, and then we'll jump into a little bit more about childcare.
Great. Thank you. My role is to help build the community's childcare sector and really looking at those options for families so that they can return to work or go back to school. The YMCA's across BC, we actually operate the most childcare with 5,000 spaces across the province. And so we really work closely with everyone in our community to do that.
Amazing. And something I was recently touring the YMCA, and your CEO said it's an economic driver. And that kind of struck me.
Interesting.
Can you explain a little bit more on the philosophy of how childcare actually helps our economy?
Right. Well, you know what? I probably have to go back about 10 years before we were able to provide supports for childcare sector.
Okay.
And that was a time when families were needed to pay the full costs of childcare. And those costs just kept escalating as everything else does. And imagine if you're trying to make ends meet and you have a mortgage, you have high costs of living with our food insecurities and what have you, and then you add on an additional fee for childcare.
Right.
And that can be up to, at that time, $4,000 extra a month.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
Right? And so if you're paying $4,000 for childcare, why would both families go back to work?
Totally.
Right. So the idea is that if we reduce the fee of care, then all those people who are sitting at home wishing to continue on with their profession, wishing to get into the workforce, can go ahead and do that. So that's the economic driver, is that we have more families working, more families paying taxes, and all of us rising together so that these children can also have the same benefits as their middle income peers.
What I love about it is that, as a provincial government, we don't affect interest rates, we don't affect grocery prices, but what we can do is we can bolster the services that people rely on to soften the cost of living.
That's right.
And one of that is having both parents being able to participate in the workforce, which is a whole other issue that we're battling.
Right.
So I know that we have over 37,000 more licensed childcare spaces in BC since 2017, and an additional 850 more licensed childcare centers. So there's a lot of work that's going on, obviously a lot of work to do, but that's what we're going to dive into today, is a little bit about what the YMCA has been doing to empower not only childcare in the facilities that you manage, but also how you empower other childcare centers locally to get licensed. So what kind of challenges do families currently still face? Obviously, we've been making some progress, but there's more work to do.
There definitely is. I mean, we've done a lot of great things over the last 5 years, and more spaces are coming. But unfortunately, wait lists are still there. And it's really hard to tell how many more spaces we truly need, but the work isn't done.
Right.
And until those spaces that are built are fully staffed with early childhood educators and fully operational, we're going to have to continue to keep that pedal on the gas on the pedal, or pedal, the gas going, and build more spaces for our families. So they're really faced with long wait lists still. They're faced with childcare that's not close to home.
Right.
They have to drive all over the valley to find something. They have to put their children in multiple locations. So not all children that they have go to the same space.
Right.
They don't have extended hours. They don't have drop-in. They don't have part-time. There's nothing on weekends or evenings. So we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember when I was running for council in 2018, and at that time, it was a challenge even attracting early childhood educators to the industry.
Right.
Wages were a challenge at that time. Training was a challenge at that time. What's changed since 2018 when I think I stood up and I said we need to pay our ECEs what they're worth.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can undervalue the importance of education for young people. That really shapes who they are into the future. So what's changed since then with early childhood educators?
No, thank you for saying that. It is a profession that it sometimes is misunderstood. Mm-hmm. These are early childhood educators, not babysitters. Education starts young for children, not at the age of 5. It starts as soon as they come out of the womb. And so they deserve to be recognized with full compensation. And the government has done amazing work with the early childhood education wage enhancement. So that's allowing our educators to receive an additional $6 an hour on top of the wage from their operator. And without that help, it would go to the families to pay for that. Right. Again, increasing those fees and not being able to get back to work.
So $6 more. What were they making without that additional $6?
Oh, minimum wage at one time.
Wow.
At one time, absolutely. Wow. And so as these fee reduction initiatives have come into place for families, as the government has started to support some operational fees, the educators are now making close to $30 an hour once they come out of their diploma program, right, with that $6 an hour. So that's amazing. And that cost isn't going back to the family to pay.
That's an amazing improvement. Obviously, $30 an hour isn't perfect by any stretch. But I remember when I joined in 2018, I spoke to some educators at Okanagan College and other ECEs that just said, I can't live off of this. So
can't live off of it, and why invest in a degree for 2 years when there's other options in the care industry that pay more? And now we are an equal now we have an equal playing field for everybody. And so that allows them to choose the profession that they most want to be with, and that's with the young children. And the government has also done some great work in opening the provincial nominee program, allowing those who are fully educated in other countries to expedite their immigration here to BC.
Amazing. How quickly does that happen?
It can happen as quickly as the operator responds, but they do have an expedited process, and it can be within 6 months. And so that's massive when it comes to trying to open a new location or that one that's under construction. Yeah. So that's been a great help. And we've also been able to access the BC Employer Training Grant, which is so important, not only for educators, but for every business owner who wants to provide more education to their staff and to upskill them. And that's been a great incentive and supporter for us in order to educate our ECEs.
So what does that do exactly for employers?
Yeah. So any employer has access to the BC Employer Training Program, actually. Okay. Yeah. And so for us here in childcare, we use that to support those who are working with children in, like, say, school-age care. They require 40 hours of training, but yet they would like a better career. And so we can access this grant to pay for their tuition while they work with us. So they don't stop working. They continue to make a wage. We support them in their online education towards ECE. And when they come out, they have a full career with their employer. That's been amazing. Yeah. So
because who can really, as an adult, stop working and support yourself
and go back to school and quit a full-time job, right? And so this employer training grant removes the barriers and cost of tuition, and they earn while they learn.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think anyone that talks to anyone in Kelowna talks about homelessness and social issues, and I don't think you can underscore enough how interconnected so many of these subjects are. If we don't have strong early childhood education and we don't have secure childcare for people, and we're leaving people in poverty, that's what perpetuates these challenges, and that's why these conversations are so important, because the issues we face as a community are so interconnected and complex.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if we're thinking about children who don't have access to early learning, then they prepare and they arrive at elementary school a little less prepared than those who have the fees and the funds to go to preschool, to do extracurricular activities. And that developmental opportunity is already lost. Yeah. And it's showing that children who don't have access to early learning may not keep pace. Right. And by grade 3, it's a good indicator that if their literacy skills aren't on par, they may not graduate.
Grade 3?
At grade 3. Could you imagine that your success is already determined at that age? Wow. And so that's why it's so important that we wrap around our children and provide them with the same opportunities. And it's not about hopping from one person to the next, right? It's really about that early learning environment.
Now, does the YMCA support all families or more vulnerable, or where on the spectrum do you tend to see most of the folks engaging with the YMCA here locally?
All over the spectrum. You know, every age requires support from the YMCA, but here, you know, what we're seeing is that many people want to move to Kelowna. They want to, right? And
they found us.
They found this beautiful place that we live in behind, you know, and they call and they ask about our wait lists. They want to come and accept that job offer. They look at our housing, our wait list for childcare, and our schools.
Yeah.
And when they are hurting because they can't have care for 2 to 3 years, it determines their likelihood to move.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's why we need to continue this investment. That's why I'm so passionate about taking care of people, because that's really what makes our community stronger. Now, obviously, the YMCA, you have capacity of a certain limit in terms of facilities, et cetera. What about licensing support for childcare outside of the YMCA?
Right, thank you for asking. So we also hold the contract for the Childcare Resource and Referral Program.
Okay.
And that is a really interesting program. It allows parents to reach out and find out about wait lists and where they can access childcare across the entire Okanagan, here in centrally. So they can find out about wait lists. Parents can borrow learning materials for their children from our lending library. So if they would like to work on their early learning and their development, we have plenty of those. And then we also support those who are interested in licensing their own childcare.
Okay.
So if you're a mom of 2, perhaps, and you are taking care of the neighbor's children, if you become licensed, you can now support 8 children in your home.
Wow.
And access the fees or access the government funding so that parents reduce their fees. And that's really important, right?
Okay.
And it's an amazing service. So coming to the Childcare Resource and Referral, looking at your childcare options as a parent or as an operator. And it's a great community of practice that we support.
And what's the process? Like, say I have a home, I've got 2 kids, and I want to take care of a few more, so I call you up, and then what's the, you know?
There's licensing packages available through our Interior Health Authority, and so we might help interpret what that means or, read through those sectors, but it's really about that community of practice and providing you with the resources and the support system so that you are successful in licensing your home and making those determinations. So I'll walk through with one of our coordinators and just being able to see it from a different lens.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, we rely on you and others to provide this childcare, but there's such a demand that obviously we have to diversify and find different ways. So it's great to hear about that program as well.
We're very passionate about ensuring that everybody has access to safe, affordable childcare. And that is high quality, right?
Yes.
And so that licensing part is really important.
And I pulled the numbers, and this childcare initiative has saved families over $2 billion over the years since it was introduced. So this is a huge savings to families. So Danielle, we're almost out of time.
Yeah,
but,
wow.
I know, it doesn't go fast.
Sure does. And I could sit up here and talk for hours.
So what are you most excited about? Like, where do we go from here when it comes to childcare?
I'm really excited for the future for our children, and I'm excited that families will have access to that quality care in a safe learning environment. And I think if we continue doing the right things by investing in affordable care for all, then we are all benefiting as these children grow up.
And when I'm elected as the Kelowna-Centre MLA, what's the one advocacy point that you want me to bring forward to our BC NDP government?
It's about investing in the educators at this stage. I think we've done a great job with the capital funding program. I think that's excellent. But it's really about investing in our educators, ensuring that we have inclusive childcare for all, the funding for those children with diverse abilities. And so I'm probably giving you more than one ask, but I will because I'm here. But that's really where I would really like to focus.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Well, I look forward to it. And we're almost out of time, like I said. So thank you so much for joining us today,
Danielle.
Danielle. And thank you for everybody for tuning in to chat a little bit about childcare and how important this is to addressing the cost of living for families here and throughout British Columbia. Again, my name is Loyal Wooldridge. I'm your BC NDP candidate for Kelowna-Centre. You can find me on socials at Loyal Kelowna, and you can catch me next time on Loyal's Community Quickcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.